Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel and this is the Hour of the Raven, your channel for everything Ravenloft, RPG, Dungeons and Dragons, and horror. Today, we will explore the mysteries and secrets of the faith and church of Hala, a religion that guards ancient secrets and wisdom. Before we begin, it is necessary to make some considerations of the disambiguation of some terms used to describe the practitioners of the religion of Hala. The Church of Hala was initially conceived for the Ravenloft setting during the second edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. The supplement that first detailed the Church of Hala was the Van Richten's Monster Hunter Compendium, Volume 3. In this book, we receive details about the faith, that harbored not only priests and clerics in a more traditional sense, but also presents a specific kit for classes of individuals who are initiated into the mysteries of the weave. The women who used these kits were called witches, and the men were called warlocks. Witches and warlocks should not be confused with the creature and monster hag. In further editions of D&D, a class called warlock was created, but it has no relation to the original kit presented in the Van Richten's Monster Hunter Compendium Volume 3. To further complicate the terminology, the Church of Hala is completely ignored by the Van Richten Guide to Ravenloft, and we have no idea if there will ever be any official adaptation of this religion for the setting, and how its members would be called for disambiguation purposes. So, for the purpose of this video, I will call the priests of the Church of Hala as cleric and priests, and those individuals who are secretly initiated into the mysteries of the weave I will refer to as witches and warlocks. By using the name witch or warlock, I will not be referring to the monster hag or the warlock class presented in other editions of D&D. Are you ready? In our quest for a cure for the affliction of lycanthropy, we travel through the lands of Mordant and receive the help of the Weathermaid family. Our allies inform us that priests and witches of Hala might have ancient wisdom and knowledge to help us fight the curse of lycanthropy, and reveal to us the location of a coven of Hala witches in the swamp of Mordant. We say our last goodbyes to the Weathermaid family, and headed out into the swamps to meet the members of the Church of Hala. Far from the eyes of the superstitious population of Mordant, the members of this secret coven welcome us in their home, to share with us their ancestral knowledge. Hour of Raven. The Church of Hala is a religion created for the Ravenloft campaign setting, and which was first presented in detail in Van Richten's Monster Hunter Compendium Volume 3, in a part of the supplement dedicated to the study and hunt of hags. It is a fictional religion created for a fantasy setting and has no relation to true religions in our world. However, considering that most of the core domains are inspired by medieval European cultures, it is possible to draw parallels between the Church of Hala with ancient European pagan religions, and even with the more modern Wiccan religion. The Church of Hala is a faith shrouded in secrecy and mysticism. Its practitioners seek to alleviate the suffering of the world, and to unveil the secrets of the weave, an ancient form of magic. They are often persecuted for their creeds, practices, and convictions. But what do the devotees of Hala believe, and why are their practices so mysterious and persecuted in the lands of the myths? The oldest book to describe the dogmas and myths of the faith of Hala is the book known as the Tale of the Ages, which is currently guarded by the Hospice of Healing Hands, located near Hotwald, in the south of the domain of Valakan. The ancient records and mythology of this faith attest that, in the beginning, there were only the mists of chaos, until the 9 gods decided to create a world where mortal creatures would inhabit and create their own destiny to live in glory or suffering. The plan of the gods was to abandon this world after its creation, leaving mortals to fend for themselves. Hala, one of these 9 gods, realized that mortals did not possess the powers or wisdom they needed to thrive in this new world, and that soon this entire creation would be a place filled with pain and suffering. The gods followed with their original plan and abandoned the world to its fate, except for Hala. Sensitized by the plight of these frail mortals with imperfect bodies of flesh, Hala betrayed the gods' agreement and descended into the mortal world. She walked among mortals and gathered followers to help her to ease the suffering of mortal life. These followers became her first devotees, priests and clerics. From among these followers, she then elected the 13 of the most devout to the cause, to reveal and share with them the secrets of the gods. Hala revealed to these 13 individuals the secrets of the weave and how they could access a powerful form of magic. These 13 followers were composed of 7 women and 6 men, who became Hala's first hallowed witches and warlocks, and their souls became connected with the weave. Hala taught her hallowed witches and warlocks to feel the weave and see the patterns created by the gods to weave the power of chaos. With this newfound power, they were to pursue Hala's design and seek to alleviate the suffering of mortals in the world. Although they discovered the mystical secrets of the gods, mortal bodies were fragile and incapable of being perfect conductors of this power. Furthermore, male and female bodies had difference and acted as different conduits for the energies of the weave. Over time, this difference between men and women created envy, division and strife between witches and warlocks, and a violent conflict erupted. Hala then intervened again and taught men and women how to search within themselves, regardless of their gender, for the feminine or masculine side of their goddess that existed in their bodies and soul. Realizing that they had been fools to go to battle with each other, the 13 hallowed witches and warlocks decided to overcome their mortal flaws through their union in covens to better deal with the powerful energies of the weave and amplify their mystical powers. The symbol of this fate is a ring formed by 13 serpents, one devouring the tail of the serpent that precedes it. This sacred symbol refers to the original 13 hallowed witches and warlocks, and their coming together to extend their power and knowledge. The clerics of Hala have daggers as their preferred weapon. All Hala devotees believe that they have been entrusted by their goddess with a sacred duty to alleviate the suffering of the world. This is not a fate that seeks to actively expand through the conversion of new believers and the preaching of its dogmas. Its devotees believe that each creature must seek its own path and role to play in the world created by the gods. Members of this faith lead by example and only welcome into their midst those who are drawn by a genuine vocation to heal the suffering of the world and study the mysteries of the faith and the weave. In fulfilling this role, the faithful and its clerics should not seek any recognition or special treatment for the fulfillment of their sacred mission, and the Church values discretion so that they can exercise their office among society without being persecuted or favored by those they help. All this caution about the secrets and mysteries of the Church is not unwarranted. Although its monasteries, hospitals, and asylums, and the works of charity of its devotees and clerics help many to alleviate their suffering throughout the land of the mists. The power of those who know the secrets of the weave strikes fear into the most superstitious. The exposure to the hidden secrets and magic of the weave can be dangerous. This kind of magic is seen and accused by many of being witchcraft that involves the manipulation of dangerous and evil forces. Many also associate this faith and its occult practices with the emergence of Calibans. As if the fears and prejudice of most societies of the Land of the Mists weren't enough, those who know the secrets of the weave and abdicate from the altruistic dogmas of their faith can end up being corrupted by its power and transforming into hideous hags and monstrosities. The history of the fate of Hala is lost in myth and legend, and no one knows for sure how long this religion has spread across the Land of the Mists and other worlds. If the beliefs in the myths are understood in their literalness, the fate of Hala exists since the creation of the universe, when Hala descended into the world to share her charity with mortals. The beliefs and rites of this creed are ancient, but it is impossible to say whether this fate began out of the demiplane of Dread, in a distant world, or where such legends about the creation of the world are nothing more than an allegory. The study of the mysteries and the past of this fate is even more difficult when its members act in a discreet and non-intrusive way, sometimes making it difficult to identify them in society. The Church of Hala does not have a central organization or predefined hierarchy. Some devotees organize themselves into monasteries, asylums, or hospices, where they practice their worship and offer support and healing to the sick and needy. Such groups are often led by the oldest member of the faith. When they don't organize in groups, they often live in secrecy, in the mists, or on the fringes of communities, like traditional healers or sage hermits. Not all Hala devotees are clerics or initiates in their occult rites. Most of those who devote themselves to the ancient wisdom and teachings of the faith do so without ever receiving blessings of the divine magic or being initiated into the mysteries of the weave. Among those who are initiated on the study of the weave and its occult mysteries, it is common for them to organize themselves into covens. These covens are composed of at least 3 members, usually led by their founder. Although ancient mythology and dogmas of the faith established that Hala had prevented a war between the sexes, it is more common and traditional to find covens composed of members of the same sex, to better harmonize the power of the weave. Initiates into a coven undergo a ritual through which they learn the darkest secrets of their brothers and sisters and connect their souls. This link formed between witches and warlocks becomes extremely powerful and allows them to invoke great mystical powers in rituals. The purpose of this organization in covens is to expand the reach and power of its members, as some of the secrets and energies manipulated from the weave are too powerful and dangerous for a single mortal body. Furthermore, the division into groups allow its members to better know and watch over each other and prevent them from being tempted down a path of corruption, being slowly molded into monsters by the effects of the weave in their bodies. The Church of Hala does not have a headquarters or hierarchy. Its devotees organize themselves to create asylums and hospices, and act silently and perennially in relieving the suffering of the needy and in combating the forces of darkness. Although they do not actively try to propagate their faith, the priests and clerics of Hala are open to sharing their knowledge and traditions with those who actively seek the teachings of Hala, and who are willing to use such knowledge to relieve the suffering of others. One of its largest centers is the Hospice of Healing Hands, located near Hotwald in Valakan. This hospice has a vast library and keeps many sacred tomes and relics of the faith. In this library is the Tale of the Ages, an ancient tome that tells the myth of creation of the faith of Hala. This book has magical properties and generates a holy aura that drives away lycanthropes. Reading from the sacred text aloud can break enchantments and free victims from the vampiric domination. In the eastern part of Alcovia is the Asylum of the Bowed Heads, where another holy relic is kept. The skull of the seventh supposedly belonged to one of the original 7 hallowed witches who learned directly from Hala. Many claim that this skull can animate and has summoned supernatural powers in the past to defend the asylum from attacks by the forces of Vlad Drakov. To the south of Rishmulo, close to the border with Borka, we find Le Sanctuaire de la Dame Oubliée, or the Shrine of the Forgotten Lady, a ruined and overgrown chapel dedicated to the faith of Hala. The faith of Hala doesn't construct or use temple buildings for its practices, preferring to use clearings in grooves and simple altars. But this stone building has carved into its ruins the symbol of the 13 serpents of the faith of Hala. The place is filled by a strange stillness and silence, and an elderly lady named Balinda takes care of this temple alone. The friendly lady is always willing to talk about her religion, and even offers shelters for pilgrims, worshippers, and witches who visit the shrine. Although these are true ruins of an ancient temple of Hala, Balinda is a terrible monster, and many have lost their lives after accepting her generous offers of food and shelter. Balinda is a cruel Ennis hag. She used it to terrorize other areas of Rishmulo until she was forced to flee after being hunted by Dr. Rudolf van Richten. She discovered the ruins of this temple of Hala, and knowing that this faith was an enemy of the hag race, she decided to pose as a priestess of Hala, only to capture, torture, and devour those of true faith who seek this shrine. Other less supernatural threats also hunt Hala's devotees. This church has been the subject of persecution by other creeds, such as the Iron Church of Bane, the Thepestian Inquisition, and even by some of the sects of the Church of Ezra. Some members of the Church of Hala, who research the history of the faith, believe that the mortal figure of Ezra, who merged with the mist to become a guardian of mortals, was one of the original hallowed witches of Hala. This view is considered a grave heresy by the Church of Ezra, and in the past, edicts have been created by the presidios of the church, condemning the faith of Hala. These edicts have now been revoked by the current presidios, but it is not uncommon for there to be some discomfort, estrangement, and even hostility between members of these religions, especially with the belligerent sect established at Fountains of Nevushar, with their doom prophecies. The Iron Church of Bane, the Lawgiver, profess the view that only their gods has true divine status, and those other religions worship only lesser demons or spirits that serve their god. The Church of Bane claim that the deities of Hala and Ezra are merely concubines of the Iron Tyrant, and there is a blatant animosity between such creeds. An even more serious situation can be found among the followers of the Fofarian pantheon of Tepest, especially after the formation of the Thepestian Inquisition. This fanatical group has practiced many horrors in order to purge the evil influence of fake creatures from their society, and the practitioners of the Church of Hala are included among these corrupting evil forces. The existence of an ancient folklore about an evil hag named Hala who stolen the power of magic from the gods only exacerbates the population's prejudice. The Coven of Witches who welcome us in the swamps of Mordant listen to our pleas and our long journey to find a cure for lycanthropy. They use rare herbs and ancient rites to brew something in their cauldrons, and we drink from their potions. The bitter taste runs down our throat, and our state of consciousness is altered. Amid blurred and confused visions, we see a ritual in a circle in the middle of the dark night of the modern swamps, and we feel the ancient power of the weave flowing through our bodies. The leader of this cabal, the witch Madeline, informs us that before the cure of lycanthropy could be attempted, we have to cleanse our souls from the crimes committed as werewolves. To cleanse the stain of death and blood from our spirits, we should keep our pledged word and help those who have reached out to us. Our sacred mission of cleansing and purification will be to find the champion that hunted and destroyed so many creatures of darkness, and we should set out in search of Van Richten's destiny. We must be mindful of our own sins, however. Should we yield to the dark side, our souls will be forever doomed, and our meeting with the old hunter might take place on a battlefield. To protect us from our curse, they also give us a mystical medallion. This amulet will imprison us in the human form and keep the wolf within trapped and hungry. We should never take it away, no matter how much we felt the need to give in to the impulse, and perhaps we might resist the call of the full moon. After receiving these graces and participated in this powerful ritual, we say goodbye to the Coven of Witches, aware of the new challenges that were imposed on us. As we drove away from the swamps, we returned to the roads and started our journey to Demolu to find the famous detective Alanic Ray and search for the whereabouts of the monster hunter Dr. Rudolf Van Richten. On the way to our destination, we will learn more about the works of the monster hunter and occult scholar, studying the book we received as a gift from the Weathermaid sisters, the Van Richten's Guide to Ghosts. Join us, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications, and together let's deepen our knowledge about the restless spirits and ghosts that haunt this land.